Welcome to the Prize Fighting Business, a show that provides you with an inside look into the business of prize fighting and combat sports through interviews with fighters, coaches, gym leaders, managers, entrepreneurs, and anyone else intimately involved with the prize fighting business. Get insight into how the professionals approach their career. I'm your host, Daniel Casado, and today my guest is Lance the Boogeyman Wright. Lance is a middleweight professional mixed martial artist, and he is undefeated as a prize fighter, rocking a clean 4-0 record. He is also the 8th ranked middleweight in Indiana on Tapology.com, and Lance will be looking to maintain his perfect record this Friday, May 3rd, when he takes on Matt Cox at LFA in Vail, Colorado at the Dobson Arena. Lance, thank you very much for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So Lance, let's first start out with your nickname is very original. How did you get that?
It was given to me by my first MMA coach, Todd Brown. And to be honest, it's kind of a funny story because I didn't have a nickname at the time, and I thought it'd be really cool to give myself a nickname. So I went and I got this T-shirt printed, and it had the Riot on the back because I thought that would, go really well. Be the Riot, Lance Wright. Yeah. And then I get into the gym. I show my coach the T-shirt. I was like, "Hey, coach, check this out," and he was just like, "That's not your nickname." I was just like, "What do you mean?" And he was just like, "Nah, man, wait until you hear the radio." And so I was just like, "What? Okay." So I wait, and it was on 103.9 The Bear, a big radio station in Indiana. And I heard it for the first time. They were going to say, "The Boogeyman, Lance Wright." And I was kind of taken aback at first. And I was just like, what's this, Todd? And he was just like, "Well, you're kind of spooky. You can give people that stare down." So I was like, all right. So I just started rocking it, and I just kind of, I assumed the personality of it, I guess. I wouldn't say that I'm malicious in it, but I definitely feel like I've got an ominous, presence about me when I'm out there.
Intensity, absolutely. No, I mean, you can see it in the fight day pictures where where you're staring into the camera and you look intense, and looking across the cage from that, I'm sure would be a little intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's interesting because I didn't know how most people come up with their nicknames. So you tried to create your own, but your coach had different plans.
No, and then I found out you can't give yourself a nickname.
That's fair.
And I realized that at the time. So
I like that.
And, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't like it at first. I thought,
really?
I was just like, the Boogeyman, what is this? I was like, some kid story, bedtime story,
sure.
Whatever. But, I definitely feel like I've grown into the Boogeyman myself.
Cool. And I like that rule as far as you can't create your own nickname. No. That's a good one to abide by.
Yeah.
Cool. So for people that don't know, LFA is a prominent regional promotion and known to be a feeder organization into the UFC. Mm-hmm. And is it correct that this is your first time fighting for LFA?
Yep. It's my debut for them. I'm
Very
really
nice.
Excited for that.
Absolutely. And where did you fight prior to LFA?
I fought for Michiana Fight League, but I made my debut for the Hoosier Fight Club, and that was in 2016. And then I just had a fight with the Hoosier Fight Club in February. So had a couple-year layoff, but I'm back at it now and, ready to go.
Nice. What was the layoff for?
Mainly it was due to injuries. I had I separated a shoulder really close to a fight, and I had to pull out. That was one of the first times that I ever had to do that. And, I just had a hard time getting fights booked. And then I came to a crossroads where I had to make a decision, for my MMA career, what was the best for it. So I made the move to Denver and got hooked up with Elevation Fight Team. A big reason for me being there is Neil Magny, because I trained a little bit with Miguel Torres, and Miguel, he told me, it was like, hey, if you really want this to be your career, you should go and talk to Neil.
Miguel Torres, the OG in the sport? Really?
Yeah.
The very same.
WEC champ.
Yep.
And,
wow, he was so good.
Yeah.
So good. Cool.
Hey, he'll still throw down. You go into his gym. He sparred me in a polo shirt once. Like, okay.
Cool. So we'll definitely want to dive more into that, your journey out to Denver. But first, could you tell me a little bit more about anything you know about your opponent coming up in this LFA Vail card?
Yeah, his name's Matt Cox. He's got a 4-2 record, I think. I haven't watched a whole lot of video. I really prefer not to. I'll have a couple people, tell me, what he's good at, what he likes to do. But at the end of the day, I'm fighting you, you're fighting me. We're going to find out who's better.
Yeah.
So I really feel like part of it is like a waste of mental energy, and I'm just down to fight. I know that using video in some contexts is really good, where you can go and pick out things, but I just feel like we're going to go out there, we're going to scrap, we're going to see who's better at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like the simple approach. I can imagine looking at film might start having you overthink things, or just get up in your head about it unneededly, like you said, just kind of avoid stress by not watching the film. But it sounds like people around you maybe watch the film, maybe your coaches watch film on your opponent.
Yeah, I've had some coaches, some close friends, they tell me what he likes to do or whatever, and game plan doesn't change a whole lot from fight to fight. Just get in there, put pressure on my opponent, make them make mistakes, and then capitalize.
Absolutely. I love this style. So is this your first time fighting at altitude like Vail, or as high as Vail?
Yep.
Do you do anything differently to prepare for that?
Cardio.
Yeah, of course. Cardio is king, right?
Cardio for days. Not that I didn't, prepare well for my other fights.
Sure.
I've definitely been putting an emphasis on trying to make sure that my gas tank is as full as possible.
Yeah.
So Aaron Porter at Orlando Performance, my main strength and conditioning coach, he's definitely been pushing me. And I feel really confident I'm going to have a good gas tank for this fight.
Good. I can't wait. And your opponent, is he from Colorado as well?
Yeah, I believe so, from the Denver area.
Okay. So, do you know what gym he trains at?
No. Not really, no.
So what does fight camp look like leading into this fight?
Fight camp as far as like my schedule?
Yeah, or what, are you training something specific as far as a certain skill getting ready for this gentleman, or is it more just preparing the cardio, getting in fight shape? And
Well, I would say I, always try to sharpen all of my skills, definitely have to be a well-rounded person. I'm a martial artist. I'm not just a wrestler or, a Muay Thai practitioner. I'm a fighter, and I have been grappling heavy, in the past, but I definitely feel like my stand-up striking has improved and that you're going to see a big change.
Beautiful. Well, we certainly look forward to it. So I can tell our listeners, when I saw you first today, you were looking lean and very, very good in shape.
Oh, yeah.
What is the weight cut like for this fight?
I pretty much like the last one. I'm down below 195 pounds right now, drinking 2 gallons of water a day. So.
And the target weight is 185?
Yep.
Okay.
So probably I'll wake up the day of weigh-ins, hopefully around 190 pounds or so, and then, it'll be easy 5 pounds of water. After that, rehydrate, flex for the cameras, have a good time.
Awesome. What is the normal weight cut for you? What is that process?
I water load, try to get 2 gallons of water in a day leading up to my fight. Weeks prior out, I'm always, your body needs that water so much when you're training. I don't think you can drink enough water. If you're training twice a day like I am and depleting your body, you've got to replenish it however you can. And then, I try to cut my water off about 12 hours before weigh-ins, and then all the weight just falls off of me. And then,
So when do you start lowering your caloric intake as far as food and transitioning to water loading?
I would say that I start, being real strict on my portions pretty much within the last, 10 days for the fight.
So 10 days before, we start limiting the food intake, upping the water intake, with the idea being that we're kind of compensating in our belly, less food, more water, and then it makes it easy to drop that last 5-10 pounds when the time comes.
Yeah. Been eating a lot of chicken, greens, nuts, avocado.
I hear those are good for you.
Yeah, for anyone looking for a diet, that's pretty, standard.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're the day of the weigh-ins. We're 5 pounds over. We wake up. We've done everything right up to that point. How do we shed that last 5 pounds?
I've done it a number of ways. I think the way that I'm going to do this time is the Epsom salt bath.
Okay.
So lots of times I sauna suit it up, put some Abilene oil on, get a nice sweat going, make sure I get my Epsom salt bath really hot, sit in there for about 20 minutes, get out, sweat for a little while, let my body, recover just a little bit from that, get back in, and then normally 2 sessions and I'm good to go.
2 sessions. And how long is each session?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, or as long as I can stand it. Sometimes you just got to get out,
Yeah. Yeah. So 20 minutes per session. Cut that last 5 pounds. You weigh in. What's after weigh-ins for you?
After weigh-ins, food. I'm probably going to eat some fresh fruit and definitely get some electrolytes back in my system. And I feel like as far as as far as food, it's not good to change up your diet. As far as refueling, you need to go and eat a lot of the foods that you have been eating.
Really?
So that way, I mean, I would say you can add some pasta and stuff in there or whatever, but I've been on the chicken and green diet. That's my fuel. My body knows how that is. I'm not going to go in there and change it up with some greasy fried chicken or something like that.
As much as you'd like to. That's for after the fight.
Yeah, save all that for after the fight.
Sure.
It's all this hard work. I don't want to go in there and completely jack up my stomach right before the fight. So I try to keep everything really relatively similar. I'll add a little bit more rice or pasta or something in there, but a lot of it's the same. I just try to go and refuel the best I can.
Yeah, no, I'd assume it's those simple foods that taste good after not eating for a while anyway, restricting the diet.
Yeah. And I always think I'm going to be able to eat more than I can, but
sure.
Yeah, my appetite eyes are up here, but
oh yeah, but your belly's all shrunk from the weight cut.
Yeah, tiny little thing.
Yeah. So outside of training camp, outside of fight camp, what would a normal week of training look like for you?
Outside of fight camp, I still try to spar probably like once a week. I'll go to either the shoot box sparring or the MMA sparring. I'll pick one of those days, try to alternate it because I don't feel like I need to go and spar and tear my body down that much. Or I'll do some technical sparring at some of the Muay Thai classes. So I'll do that probably once a week, and I'll still stay with my strength and conditioning, try to hit that at least once a week for the metabolic days. And, just try to go to the technique classes. I try to hit my gi class, keep that sharp because it's another sport basically that I feel like.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, gi jiu-jitsu. I feel like that is a completely different sport, but it translates so well into MMA that, I always feel like if I tighten up my gi jiu-jitsu, it makes my no-gi better, makes my MMA better. So, and it's just all, you can't cheat. I mean, you can't, what's a good way that I can explain this? You can't use your athleticism the same way in a gi that you can no gi.
Right.
So, and that way it makes it, the most technical aspect of grappling, which is good because, I know plenty of people that can just go use their athleticism, explode out of certain things. Where if you got the gi on, I got some handles. You definitely have to go and deal with the grips first before you can go start exploding and stuff.
Right. No, I think focus on the technique. Anyone's going to tell you that's going to be better than muscling out of certain positions. Yeah. So especially at your weight class, you're probably facing a lot of gentlemen that are well built, maybe ex-bodybuilders before coming into the sport. A lot of them at middleweight, 185 pounds have significant amounts of muscle on them. So where they can potentially be in practice, getting away with muscling things. If you're focusing on gi jiu-jitsu, focusing on having clean technique, you're going to be able to beat them when the time comes down to it, and it matters when you guys are both tired. Technique's going to...
Precisely.
Technique and cardio are going to beat strength.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Very nice. So do you focus on any skills specifically in training at this point of your career? Or is it just generally striking, grappling, MMA, and we're just working it all in together?
I would definitely say that since I have moved to Denver, I've definitely been focusing on my Muay Thai.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been focusing on that a little bit more than the gi jiu-jitsu because it's a lot more information because I'm a purple belt right now, but I know Muay Thai doesn't have a ranking system, but I would not say that I'm at the mid-level.
Okay, so you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so that's high level. I mean, there's only brown and black left, so you're over blue. Yeah. You're, I guess, halfway through the journey, theoretically, belt-wise, maybe not time-wise. Yeah. As the belts go up, it takes more time to get to them. But Muay Thai, you feel like you're a little bit of a beginner, at least in striking, or you're getting to that mid-tier level? Yeah,
I would definitely say that I'm a student of it, and
student.
I am constantly learning.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
Always trying to go and adjust my technique and you can always learn something from anybody. And
Oh, yeah.
what I've learned as a student, that you have to figure out how you learn and who you learn best from.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to do out here. Just get with as many people as I can and trying to figure out what can I learn from them. And I know that I still have a lot to learn, not just with Muay Thai, but also with Jiu-Jitsu. There's so much information out there, and I've been traveling a little bit more, and everyone's got something that they can teach you.
I bet.
And I'm always trying to stay open-minded about that too, and just thinking, oh, well, hey, this guy's just a blue belt. Well, hey, look, he's doing something really cool over there.
Yeah.
And I'll go and I'll ask him about it lots of times, and maybe I'll add it to my game. You never know.
I think it's a great mindset to have, a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work with, on your striking, your Muay Thai striking, do you work with that, with anyone specific on that?
Yeah, I've been working with Sean Madden and Dustin Bollinger. Yep.
So at Easton.
Yep, at Easton, Denver. Those guys, definitely top notch.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely say that they're world class.
I believe, I don't want to get the title wrong, but I believe Sean Madden is director of the U.S. Muay Thai Federation Muay Thai program. I believe so. So it's a good guy to be working with.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great guy to have in my corner.
Yeah. And so what team do you train with when you're in Colorado?
Elevation Fight Team.
Elevation Fight Team.
Yep.
And is that led by Sean, the striking coach, or is that led by somebody else?
Sean's one of the main coaches there. Elliot Marshall. He owns the gym in Denver.
UFC veteran.
Yeah. Another UFC veteran, Cody Donovan, is there. He's definitely a guy I've been working very closely with a lot of my ground techniques. And Peter Straub, he's been helping me out too. And yeah, a lot of the coaches in there. Dave Zabriskie, wrestling coach. And, Dave, man, that guy can wrestle.
An Olympic wrestler, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, he's a very top level. And I love wrestling with him because it's down and dirty. Whenever he's wrestling with you, he doesn't care. It's like, this is wrestling class. This is not jiu-jitsu class.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of knowledge in one room. And even grappling, you have the jiu-jitsu aspect, you have the wrestling aspect, and those guys are also MMA veterans, so you also have the MMA grappling aspect, which is huge. I mean, bringing in the cage to things and working off the cage. So I think that's very nice that you have that kind of experience on the team, and then you also have the striking aspect. So a very well-rounded team. And I know you mentioned strength and performance. You utilize Aaron.
Aaron Porter at Landau Performance.
Cool. And I think that they also work with the Broncos. Is that right?
Yeah. There's a lot. They work with a lot of people, a lot of professional athletes. I see some Broncos in there. I see some baseball players in there sometimes.
Huh.
Yeah. But all walks of life come through there. They definitely know what they're talking about when it comes down to the science of it. Yeah.
And how do you feel like that's impacted your game?
If my cardio meter was here before I came here, it's up here now.
Beautiful.
I definitely feel like as far as strength, and strength-wise is up there, cardio-wise, and the biggest thing is there's open communication with my other coaches, because I've ran into problems in the past with always trying to please one coach the most, where you go and you try to give everything you can on conditioning day, and then come sparring time, why you're looking so lackluster? Why don't you have that snap in your punches? Whereas with the schedule, they're able to go and say, okay, you're having a really hard spar day right here. Maybe we won't do the metabolic day directly after that. We'll go and we'll schedule it for another day. And really helping me with my schedule has really fine-tuned me into a better athlete.
I think that's incredible. I mean, the idea, like you said, I think that a lot of people struggle with the lack of coordination between the training, with the strength and performance, and your more skills-based training. So it's huge that they have that communication between each other and make you perform at your best.
Yeah. And Aaron Porter, he's a brown belt too, so it's not like he is unfamiliar with jiu-jitsu and MMA.
Right.
So he's definitely able to go and put the workouts, and fine-tune them for our
He has that insider perspective.
Yep, exactly.
So what is the training like at Landau's? Is it am I lifting, or are you lifting heavy weights? Are you doing plyometrics and agilities? What does it look like?
Depending on the days. If I go 2-3 days a week, there's a strength day, a recovery day, and a metabolic day. Metabolic day is probably by far the hardest, because you're just doing high intensity interval stuff. 1 minute goes, 30-second breaks. I don't know if you've ever been on a Versa climber. Have you ever?
I have not, but I've seen them. That's with the hands and the legs.
Yep. That thing will be the death of me. Yeah. So
Just total body cardio is what I would imagine.
Yep.
Like you're swimming.
Yep. And we switch it up. Very rarely do we do the same workouts 2 weeks in a row.
Really?
Yeah. So it'll be different, varied a little bit, and they definitely know how to make you peak at the certain time. So that way you're, firing on all cylinders, ready to go, and just feeling great. I feel amazing right now. I had my last metabolic day yesterday. I elbowed the bag until I about passed out. But yeah, it was a great time,
Yeah, having the idea of peaking right around your fight's a big one too, because maybe even if you have a good understanding of weightlifting or a good understanding of cardio and how to push your body, not only is it difficult to push yourself as much as you would if someone else is there pushing you,
exactly,
but it's also hard to get your timing right. It does take kind of an outside perspective and the science behind it, which I know Landau uses a lot of the science behind it to kind of measure where you are, understand your heart rate, understand your working level, and then, like you said, have you peaking right around your fight.
Yeah, there's so much science behind it. I believe they'll have me get on a machine. I'll go and it's kind of like an elliptical, but they'll do a power test. And based on that power test and other ones, because they do it week by week most of the time, they'll be able to tell, oh hey, you're running the red line too much. We need to back off a little bit, which I think is awesome. I also have a heart rate monitor, so that way I can go and put that on in the morning and be able to tell, okay, I've definitely been if your heart rate's a little bit higher, you can tell that you're a little bit more fatigued. Sure. So maybe you should just go and do a recovery day that day, or do a light run or something.
And they share these metrics with you. They're communicating the idea of this is what we're seeing, and this is why this information is important to you, and this is what you should take from it in your training.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Definitely world class.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like a great approach. What about recovery? What does that look like for you? Do they help you on the recovery end, or is that more on you to go to cryo or whatever it is that you do?
Yeah, it's pretty much been on me. I've done cryo before. I felt like that it helped me out a lot. Mainly what I've been doing for this camp is a lot of yoga.
Really? I was going to ask you about that. So do you go to a yoga studio, or do you use YouTube?
Easton's, they have a yoga class on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, with Katie, if you didn't know. She's a really great instructor.
Katie, what's her last name? Do you know? It's okay. Yoga with Katie, ETC.
Yep.
Easton Training Center, Denver, on Sundays.
Yep, Sundays at 9:30.
Lance is vouching.
Yep. Great class.
Cool. So you do it once a week then for recovery and flexibility? Yep.
I do yoga once a week, and after spar days, I try to go and get in fixed performance and with the Normatec. They got the Normatec boots on.
And Fixed Performance is a local Colorado company as well that focuses on that sports recovery aspect.
Yep, definitely. And they help out a lot of guys in elevation. And he does cupping, dry needling, has an infrared sauna. So it's really great, that I've got all of those things that I can use. I'm actually going to go see him on Monday, get some cupping done.
Okay, very cool. And that's kind of releasing the blood or bringing blood flow to that area?
Yeah, I kind of compare it to a deep tissue massage without the recovery.
Oh, interesting. Because you don't have a recovery period afterward?
I don't feel like if I have an hour and a half deep tissue massage, I feel like I just did like 5 or 6 rounds sparring. Yeah, sometimes
I agree with that.
I'm that sore.
I love it, but I agree with it.
Yeah, and it takes a couple days for that soreness to go. But with the cupping, it definitely felt like it was more instant relief, and that it just didn't take as much out of me. Yeah. And it looks pretty cool afterwards. You get all those circular bruises like Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
So, but I'd definitely say that it works for me.
So what do your costs look like associated with all this training? Do you pay for each thing individually? Is it like a package deal that you have?
With Fix?
Or just all your training, so paying for or your fight camp, your recovery aspect, working with Landau's?
It's coming out of my pocket.
Yeah, okay. So is each one individually paid for?
Yeah, it's not grouped together. You got to pay the bills, separately.
Do you get any deals for being on a team as large as Elevation Fight Team?
Yeah, I still got to pay a membership, but there's a fighter membership, so
Okay.
that way they give us a little bit of a discount to help out, and we can go to all the Easton locations. So that really helps me out. Sometimes I go to Easton Centennial for the grappling days, get a lot of really good no-gi rolls in there. I go to High Altitude Martial Arts in Aurora. Go there with Cody Donovan for their Wednesday class, and it's really, really awesome that we have so many different locations that we can go to and train, and different bodies. There's always a class going on.
Cool. Yeah, no, that flexibility is huge for training. I know you hear these horror stories or just these stories in general about these guys in New York that have to, Gordon Ryan and Gary Tonin are two that come to mind, where they talk about how, I'm driving an hour from New Jersey to Manhattan for Henzo's, and then I'm driving to Rutgers, New Jersey for Gary Tonin's wrestling practice, and then I'm driving to the gym to lift some weights. So you have the flexibility of being able to train where it's convenient for you anywhere in Colorado.
Yeah, everything in Denver is like 20 minutes away. It's awesome. Yeah. I love living here.
Yeah. So what other expenses would you, if you could paint a picture kind of professional fighter's life, you would have the basics, I assume, rent, transportation. What about expenses more related to the actual fight? Do you have to go get medicals to qualify with fight, or what does that look like?
I think for Colorado, they do the physical there, so I don't have to go to the doctor's office.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah. But
do you have to pay for it?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I'll find out next Friday.
Sure.
Or next Thursday, whenever they do it. Other than that, blood work, got to do that.
Okay.
So definitely, as far as medicals go, not that expensive. I've heard other places like California, you have to do a whole bunch of other stuff like MRIs, see an optometrist, get your eyes checked and everything.
That seems like it could get expensive quickly.
Yeah, definitely. But it is what it is if you want to fight in California. Pay the tax there too.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Higher taxes on your income because you're taxed by the state that you fight in as well as your home state?
Yep. I believe that's how it goes. So that's why people like to fight in Vegas. They don't have an income tax there.
That's right. That's right.
State income tax, I should say.
Sure. So they're going to provide the medicals for you, or the physical, the weigh-in day. What about other injuries that would come up? I know you mentioned your 2-year layoff. Do you have health insurance through being a fighter? Is there any kind of union, or what does that look like? How do you pay for medicals?
I'm on the Hopes and Dreams life insurance policy.
So you just pay for it as it comes up, or as you need it? You kind of figure it out?
Yeah. I'm just kind of playing it pretty close to the chest right now when it comes to insurance.
Sure. I mean, I think that's kind of an interesting aspect that professional fighters have to consider. How do you cover that expense when it comes up, or on a more regular basis? I think there could probably be a better answer provided somehow, whether it's a union or something, but I'm not the one with the answer quite yet.
I haven't heard too much about unions, but that's definitely something that I would be open to. Problem is with the fighters union is unions are basically for teams. There's not a whole lot of fighters, it's an individual sport, not necessarily a team sport. There are fight teams, but I definitely see how it'd be more difficult to get the ball rolling on a union for that. But there are some unions out there right now for MMA.
I know there's a couple, it was more talk about it a couple years ago in the UFC, and I know they didn't really like the discussion, and a couple people that were prominent in it are no longer in the UFC, and they point to that. I don't know if that's truly what it is, or...
I know Mark Hunt, he was a proponent of that for a little while, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Project Spearhead maybe is what one of them was called. But, it's just going to require, I think, a bigger ground-swelling push of something, or just an alternative. That might not be the answer either, but some kind of alternative where healthcare is more accessible and more available and affordable for people, that are pursuing a professional career.
It's a very dangerous career.
That's right.
Health insurance would be nice.
Yeah. So for this upcoming fight, were you able to get any sponsors?
Yeah, I've got a few sponsors. I've got Fixed Performance. They're sponsoring me. Anchor Down Tattoo back in Indiana. They've been with me since I was an amateur. Shane Yoder over there. He's hooking me up with some...
Shout out to Shane Yoder, supporting you the whole career.
Yep. Strength and Honor.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, he does really good work if you're ever in that area. And then I also have a Receptra CBD company that sponsors me.
How did you find these sponsors? Did they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them?
Well, with Shane and Anchor Down, I really did a lot of legwork for the local area. And it was just trying to find businesses that were willing to sponsor somebody, something like that. And Indiana, there's, MMA isn't huge there. There's not as much opportunity for sponsorships there. And at the time, Anchor Down was a newer business. And he was like, yeah, you're from Syracuse. I'd love to sponsor you. So, so sometimes it's monetary, sometimes it's just ink. But, he does really good work.
Yeah, and it's all reducing your expenses, whether you're getting paid or whether you don't have to pay.
Yep. And Receptra, someone that works or that trains at Elevation Fight Team, they got me hooked up with them, so that way I got my CBD, and same thing with Fixed Performance, just all in the Easton family.
Very nice. And I think you mentioned when we were speaking before the interview something about a running company too?
Yep, Boulder Running Company. They're sponsoring me for this. They're actually sponsoring me with a job, thankfully.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I work in the warehouse, Cherry Creek. So.
Oh, that was actually my next question. So you do have a job outside of professional fighting?
I have 2 jobs.
Oh, yeah? What are they?
I'm the warehouse associate, and I'm also a Naga Jiu-Jitsu referee.
Cool. So Naga, I know it's mainly on the weekends?
Yeah, it's only on the weekends.
Okay, and the warehouse job, does that provide you with flexibility to train as you need?
Yeah. So, they're really awesome with my schedule so far. So, I go out. Lots of times I fly out on Fridays for Naga, and work 4 days a week for the warehouse, and then I'm back on Sunday after the jiu-jitsu tournaments.
So when are you training, morning and night, or is it afternoon? What does that look like?
While I'm...
Yeah, so I imagine the way you described it, you have your day job Monday through Friday, you're going to Naga on the weekends.
Yeah, so I work at the warehouse 7 a.m. to noon, get 5 hours, 20, 25 hours a week.
Yep.
And I do the pro practice at 1 p.m., Then after that, I go relax for a little bit, and then I go to the evening classes, whether that's Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
So I like to do 2 practices a day.
Yeah.
And then on days that I don't do an evening class, I'll go to Landau's.
I see. Okay. So strength and performance is about 3 days a week, it sounded like?
2-3 days a week. Sometimes if I feel like I'm pushing my body a little hard, I'll cut out the recovery day. And, just try to do some yoga or some stretches at home, take an Epsom salt bath. And that's another thing as far as, listening to my body. I've done a lot better job of that later on in my career.
Sure.
Because when I was 20, 21 years old, I was just going as hard as I could go and trying to get as many classes in and not really knowing how to recover. Because I was younger, I was able to recover faster. And getting older, you don't recover as fast.
Sure.
So I'm definitely learning, schedule my times.
And how old are you?
I'm 26.
Oh, you're still young.
Yeah, still young, but not as spry as I once used to be.
Yeah, not at the beginning of your MMA career necessarily.
Yeah.
Sure. So what, as far as you have fighting, you train, you're working, do you have hobbies outside of fighting?
Oh, yeah. I love to go out and disc golf.
Yeah?
Yeah, disc golfing is pretty cool. I got into that probably 3 or 4 years ago, just with some friends in Michigan, and we went out to a few courses. And I'm not very good at it, but
Me neither.
I think it's fun just to go out there, and I like hiking too. So same thing, just going out and being outdoors.
Right. Yeah, a good way to get outdoors, and it's not very expensive once you have the discs.
No, as long as you don't lose them.
Right. I guess that would get expensive. So you mentioned kind of how your approach to training has changed. You listen to your body more. You've learned this throughout your MMA career. How did you get into MMA originally? How did it all start?
Originally, so when I was 18 years old, my mother passed away unexpectedly, and it was right before I graduated high school, and I really didn't have a direction with where I wanted to go. I had seen some of my family members go to college and just rack up a bunch of debt, and I didn't feel like that was my path. And I remember I was at a local gym in Syracuse, Indiana. I was working out, and a guy I used to wrestle with, Chase Davis, he came in there, and I was talking to him. I was like, "Oh, hey, so you do MMA too?" And I started talking to him a little bit. Well, I mean, I hadn't done it yet. I had just done a little bit of jiu-jitsu in garages. Trained a little bit. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled with Chase for a year, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you should come check out my gym in Osceola." And I went up there, grappled a little bit, got subbed immediately, and was like, "Oh wow, they've actually got a fight team out here." And it was something that I really wanted to do. I was always interested in it, so I got hooked up with the Bulldog fight team, and just started going from there, and had my first amateur fight, and I knocked the guy out in 7 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, and
it's a good start to a career, I'd say.
I don't think that I could have done it very much better than that, but yeah, I was pretty much hooked after that. There's no way you could walk away from being that successful.
That's true. And you had a good foundation for it. I mean, wrestling in high school is potentially maybe one of the best foundations to have for MMA specifically, being able to control where the fight goes and certainly controlling when you're on top and being on top of a person. So, are you from Syracuse, Indiana then?
Yep.
Is that where you grew up?
Yep. A very small little lake town in Syracuse. There's probably like 2,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shout out to you guys if you're listening.
And so then what made you move to Colorado, going from a town of 2,000 people to Denver, which is over 1 million?
At the end of the day, with the gym that I was at, it really came down to the number of bodies.
Yeah,
I feel
training partners.
Yeah, and I feel like the level of skill was there at that gym, but to get me to the level that I needed more training partners.
Different looks.
Yeah, I got so much love for all those guys out there. They gave me their start. They gave me my start.
Yeah.
They helped me out in the beginning, and I still went back there. I still grapple with those guys and everything. And I mean, I got subbed last time I went there. And I was just like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
The guys are good for a reason. I definitely feel like that their belts hold up anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, a good foundation is always going to be critical for success, especially in martial arts where, like we talked about earlier, technique is so critical. So, being 4-0 as a pro in MMA, moving to Colorado, it certainly looks like you had a nice start and a good foundation built while you were in Indiana.
Yeah, Todd Brown, he definitely ran a very good team, for a long time. Todd, he's a UFC vet too. So, I mean, they definitely have a good program there.
Did you have to save up to move to Colorado? Like, how long was this thought process between, I think Colorado is my next step for my career and actually making that move?
Yeah, so I came out here in 2016, and I trained with Elevation a little bit, met some of the coaches, and at the time, I didn't have the financial capital, so I just I really saved my money for a while, and some of my other teammates that I trained with in Indiana, they moved out here before I did.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of like, oh, man, I got to get out there.
A little more incentive to save.
Yeah. So I saved my money for a while and, got out here and just trying to make enough money to pay the rent.
Well, I love that you didn't just move without, saving. I like that you made it a financial goal to essentially spend this money to invest in your career, invest in your future, invest in your growth, invest in the growth of your skills and abilities. And you set that as a target, and then you were able to make it accomplish it and realize that goal. So I think it's very impressive. Good job.
Oh, thanks, man.
So any major cost of living differences that you've noticed from Indiana to Colorado?
Yeah, the rent's a lot higher here, but as far as groceries and everything, and gas, it's pretty similar. It's just the rent.
Right.
Main difference is the traffic. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm from North Carolina originally, and a little bit out in the country, suburbs at least, but the traffic difference is incredible.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about rush hour too much in Indiana. I mean, it's the same. 20 minutes is going to be 20 minutes here. It could be 20 minutes or it could be an hour and a half.
Right.
If you go at the wrong time.
Oh,
so definitely got to be a little bit more careful about when you're driving. You give yourself the correct amount of time.
So if we could think back to when you were first starting out in Indiana, Syracuse, Indiana, you mentioned your first fight, 7 seconds as an amateur in your debut. What were your goals when you first started out? What were you thinking as far as, I mean, were you thinking, I'm going to be in the UFC, or were you just thinking, let's take a fight and see where it goes from there?
It was a long time ago. I really don't remember exactly what I was thinking, but I just remembered that it was something that I felt like I was destined to do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good feeling to have.
Yeah. Even as
purpose.
Even as a little kid, my dad had a punching bag, and just the look on his face when I would like go crazy on the punching bag or whatever. I always felt like there was something inside me that said that I wanted to be a professional athlete.
Wow.
So I've always thought that was something that I was going to do. And for the longest time, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. I played baseball for 10 years.
That was my first love as well. Before girls, I loved baseball.
Yeah. I'm a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan.
Braves fan myself, but I could see that WGN was on my TV when I was growing up, Channel 19.
Yeah.
Basic cable package.
I always love going to Wrigley Field.
I've never been. That is definitely on the bucket list.
Yeah.
That ivy on the outfield wall. Whew.
It's definitely an experience, and the vibe is completely different from a win versus a loss.
Sure.
Because when they win, they play the Go Cubs Go song. Everyone's up dancing around. There's a party in the street, and if they lose, it's like a funeral.
So have you ever been to a White Sox game, or is that taboo?
I have been to a White Sox game. I've been to US Cellular Field a couple times. I'm not a hater of the White Sox.
Sure.
I would just pick the Cubs any day.
I see.
But it is what it is. I'm pretty close. I wouldn't not go to a White Sox game if somebody gave me some tickets.
So how many, back to your career, how many fights did you have as an amateur?
I want to say I had 10 or 11 amateur MMA fights, 1 amateur Muay Thai fight.
Oh, you did? Okay, so not only MMA, but you dabbled in striking, stand-up only, Muay Thai. Interesting.
Yeah, well, the reason for that was it's kind of a bizarre story, but the guy that I was supposed to fight in an MMA fight that night was 30 pounds overweight, something ridiculous.
Wow.
So my coaches definitely weren't having that happen. And I had a teammate. Same thing happened with him. His opponent, something happened where his opponent dropped out too. So they didn't want me to fight this guy as an MMA fight for whatever reason for the MMA record. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, we're going to do an exhibition Muay Thai match. So
cool.
I believe that since it was amateur, we weren't allowed to elbow. But yeah, no shins.
That's normal.
Yeah, no shins, 12-ounce gloves. And unfortunately, I won the fight, but I broke my hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I broke my hand in the fight, and if I could get one back, I really wish I wouldn't have broke my hand. But it's all good.
Yeah.
I got a plate and 5 screws in there now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's solid.
You're a bionic man.
A little bit, 0.5%, something like that.
So what was your record as an amateur? Do you know?
9-2.
9-2. Wow, that's a solid record.
Yep.
So when you're going through your amateur career, was there a point, or do you remember at what point you said, this is something I can be a professional at, this is something I can pursue as a career, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I definitely felt that after my first couple amateur MMA fights.
That early?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I definitely knew that professional was something that I was going to do just because of how often I was fighting. And I had bunch of amateur MMA fights, and I just knew that the level of competition was so good that I felt like I needed more experience. So that's why, I know a lot of people, they only have a few amateur fights and then they turn pro, but I feel like the path that I took definitely got me ready for the professionals, so that way I had the experience and I have the correct demeanor, and I'm able to control myself a lot better now compared to when I was an amateur.
I believe it, and you hear that from fighters with experience. And, don't rush the experience. And even your teammate at Elevation, Justin Gagey, in an interview recently said, "Don't rush it to the big show. Get the experience on the regional shows, on the feed organization, so that when you're ready for the UFC, you're kicking butt with the best of them."
Exactly.
And so when you decide that you want to go pro, do you hire a manager? Do you tell your coaches? Do you make an announcement on social media? What does it look like when you decide I'm going to go pro?
To be honest, at the time, I was kind of surprised that they offered it to me. They offered me a fight for the HFC at 100, my weight class, and I was just like, sure, yeah. I'll
so
take
you
it.
got offered a pro fight. You were 9-2, and that made the decision up for you.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. My coaches at the time, they knew that I was, on the cusp of it, so they were, putting feelers out there, looking for a good matchup for me, and yeah, they just found it for me. I made my debut for the HFC.
Very nice, and you won clearly because you're 4-0. How did that fight go?
I wound up winning by unanimous decision,
Nice.
30-26.
And certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but since that, all 3 wins are finishes?
Yep.
Very nice. So
Yep.
4-0, 3 finishes.
Yep, 3 chokes.
All submissions by choke.
Yep, a knee choke, a darce, and rear naked.
Wow, all different chokes. Very cool. So
Call me a choke artist.
choke artist flexing the purple belt.
Yeah.
Very nice. So how would you say your goals have changed over time from the beginning of your career to now?
I will definitely say that my goals have, been to learn more, because at the start of my amateur career, it was just like go to the gym, spar, get a good sweat, and not really pick up anything. I didn't have that mindset of, okay, I need to learn. It was more like I'm just competing with all of these guys. I just want to beat these guys.
Oh yeah.
But I've really learned that, and I've heard this from plenty of my coaches. It's not about proving who is better. It's who can get better.
I like that.
Yeah.
Not about proving who is better, it's about getting better.
Yeah, and we're all on the same fight team. We don't get paid, to beat the hell out of each other in the cage.
Very good point.
And
At practice.
Yeah, there's no pay-per-view buys there, and so when something like that happens, where somebody gets hurt, it's really an unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
So that's why Elevation Fight Team, from the last article I read, was one of the safest teams in the country.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah.
The opposite of
AKA.
at least the rap AKA gets. Yeah.
I definitely think that the limit on the number of sparring rounds that they recommend is part of that, because normally I don't spar more than 10 rounds a week.
And that's part of the team structure. Interesting. Yep. I like that.
Yeah.
So what would you say, if you had to identify current career goals for us, what would you say they are right now?
Current career goals, keep winning.
Yeah.
That's
Build the resume.
Yeah. Just go out there and do what I love to do. Just I would obviously love to make it to a bigger organization, but for right now, I'm just happy to take fights and keep on going, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The right people will call me when it's time.
That's right. Doing what you love. So how do you feel like you're going to be able to get to that next level or achieve those goals?
I definitely feel like finishes are going to help me there.
Absolutely. Well, you're on the right track, 3 in a row, all by finish. And
So I think that just making sure that I go for the finish. I try not to say that going for like a decision win is bad, but you never want to leave it up to chance. And I definitely feel like if I go and I put the pressure on, I'm going to make whoever make a mistake, and then I'm going to capitalize upon it.
Absolutely.
And just constant pressure.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned your move to Colorado. Do you feel like that's the biggest investment you've made in your career, or
By far.
Yeah.
By far. And I can't thank my training partners enough. I've got people like Neil Magny, Matt Paul, Andrew Capel, who is the HFC middleweight champion. Those are guys that I train with every day, and you can't help but get better if you're on the mats with those guys and you're doing the practices and the drills and everything. So definitely, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, not only get better, but I would imagine it builds your confidence knowing that the gentlemen that you train day in and day out with are fighting in the UFC. They're fighting for these prominent regional organizations, and they're the champions of those organizations.
Yeah, I definitely feel that I'm in the correct place, to make it to a bigger organization, or just be able to pay the rent.
Yeah. Well, you certainly painted a good picture of how you approach your career, so I appreciate that. What about a tip for younger fighters or people aspiring to potentially be in your position, be a professional fighter and pursue it as a career? What tip would you give them? Maybe something you've learned along the way or something that you wish you had done better?
One thing that I'll say to younger fighters, that when it comes to strength and conditioning, coupled with your technique classes, less is more. And I feel like when it comes to technique, that I need to put more emphasis on technique. Not saying that strength and conditioning isn't important, but I definitely feel like overall that doing those things coupled together, like simultaneously, that you can achieve better results than if you just go and think that you're going to do it 50-50. Yeah. And think that, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to spar, and then I'm going to go and do all these hill sprints right afterwards, and just try to go and find a system that'll work for you and listen to your body.
That's great insight. Thank you. And, thank you for coming in. I certainly appreciate you making time before your fight coming up this Friday, LFA in Vail. So that is May 3rd, and it is at the Dobson Arena in Vail, Colorado. So check it out. Doors open at 4:30. Fights start at 5. You can buy tickets from Lance himself, from other fighters on the card, or you can buy them at lfatix.com. Thank you very much for your time today, Lance.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks to our fans for listening and watching to the show. And don't forget to subscribe to the DA Media YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at PrizeFightBiz, and check out the website at theprizefightingbusiness.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. See you next time.